Hi everyone, it's Heidi from flutterbyheidi.co.uk and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based here in the United Kingdom, right in the heart of the country, literally not far from the middle, and where Stratford's birthplace is, so Stratford-on-Avon. So today's card is using the beautiful new from the mini catalogue Dress to Impress stamp set and some of the paper as well, and I've just made a pretty suspension card, as you can see here, with these lovely perfume bottles and gorgeous papers. Really quick and easy card, but has a nice a lovely effect and something that people kind of really like, the way that it's got this sort of gap across the middle. And I haven't used acetate or anything else, it is just a gap card, like a suspension card. So that's the card we're making, but before we do, let's have a look at the stamp set. So this is the stamp set, Dress to Impress, lovely images which are great for any girly girls out there. So shoes, lipstick, fabulous sentiments, be as bold as your lipstick, life is short by the shoes, and then some nice background images as well. So that's our stamp set. It comes with some dies, and the dies not only cut out the actual images of the stamps, but they also have this lovely handbag die, gorgeous button and buckle embellishments, fabulous stitched sentiment frames, and also this stitched strap here as well for you to make your handbag. I'll use that on another day. As you can see, one of the things I do when I first get stamp sets like these, I know I'm going to use a lot, is I actually just use my scraps of Whisper White and die cut a lot of the blank images, and then I can go ahead and stamp them as and when I want in the colours I want. So I've die cut lots of those. I also die cut for each of them into a piece of thick, either black or thick Whisper White cardstock. I die cut the frames, and this is about 7 by 10 centimetres, so 3 by 4 inch piece of card that I just die cut the image out of, and that's so I can use it with my stamparatus. So I'll pop my stamp set to one side and show you what I do. So quite simply, I add my stamp to the top plate of my stamparatus. I stamp it on a piece of my grid paper, and I then just put the frame around that so that it's nicely centralised, so I know that my image is going to be perfectly centred. Add my die cut to the middle, grab my Memento black, and I'm using Memento in case I wanted to colour them using the blends, and just literally stamp. It sometimes lifts up, but there you have a perfectly centred image. The reason I do this, one is for speed in classes quite often, that just helps move things along quite quickly, but really it's because I find it means I've got a nice I haven't quite slot that one in. I've got a nice image that I know is going to stamp really well each time. When you're stamping sometimes and then die cutting, you can find that sometimes even with a magnetic plate your die slips slightly, and there's nothing worse than having stamped it. And again, I never colour, I don't say never, I rarely colour before I die cut, for the same reason, because I don't want to risk going to all the trouble of colouring something and then finding that actually it isn't working. So all I've done is I have stamped 4 of those perfume bottle images, and then I'm going to colour a couple of those, and I'm going to use some of the other colours. So in this pack of paper, I've dived straight into the making. We're going to be using this pack of paper, which is the Dress to Impress paper as well, and this is fabulous. So these, as I go through, I'll show you 2 pieces, and the first will be the front and the second will be the reverse. So perfume bottles and stripes. Look at this, handbags and some other bolder stripes. Lovely floral images with some perfume bottles. So again, these are kind of quite generic on one side, but plainer ones on the other. So bold patterns, and look at these fun shoe images. some lovely dots there, always popular, useful. This one reminds me of potentilla. Couldn't remember it when I first started doing my video, but now I remembered. It's lovely potentilla flower, sort of old olive in there. And this has got some lovely petal pink and melon mambo, which is what I used for my first sample, along with some mint macaron on the reverse. Look at these, great fun. And again, some more pretty florals with some makeup brushes. Papers, which are lovely, and now I often don't buy 2 packs of paper. There's an extra sheet just on the back, but I think this is one where I might. I think the patterns are so lovely. Did I show you that one? Can't remember. Anyway, so 6x6 paper, gorgeous colours. Some soft colours and some bolder ones as well. So whatever you fancy. So let's get on with actually making the card, because hopefully that's what you want to see. So you're going to need a piece of cardstock, which is so what we're going to do is cut basic card, trim a panel. So we don't need quite a full width of cardstock. So I'm working in centimetres, and you want a piece of card that is 14.5 centimetres by 21 centimetres to start off with. You're going to score at 10.5. Then you're going to just trim it to 18.5 centimetres and pop that piece to one side. You don't need that for this project. And then you're going to cut again on the right hand side here, just over here, at 2.5 centimetres. So you need that piece at 2.5. This gives you a piece which is 5.5 centimetres and your standard 10.5 on the side there. So that's our card base. You then need a piece of contrast card that is 2 centimetres by 14.5 centimetres, because that's going to layer on top of our card here. And you need a piece that is 5 centimetres. Okay. So that's our second layer. Then we need to cut our designer series paper. So I'm actually going to cut this at 1.5 and 4.5. And the reason I'm doing it, the reason I'm cutting it this way is just because it means I keep my full width of paper for use on a later project. So I'll just trim those down to 14.5 now. I know it's only just over 7mm, but it just means that you've got fewer little bits that you want to have floating around. Okay, so this is what you're going to have at the end of your cutting. You're going to have your layers like so. Okay, so that we can go ahead and stick those together. And obviously use whichever sort of glue suits you. Wet glue gives you a little bit more wiggle room. But obviously, if you prefer a tape runner, then that works really well for speed. And never worry if you've got a little bit of overhang, you can just come in and just snip that off. So here with this one. So the only thing obviously to be aware of in this is just keeping your borders. And then this goes on this section here. Okay. Again, there we go. And just fold and reinforce that crease. And there's our basic card that we're going to have. So now what we want to do is actually colour a couple of these images and stamp our sentiment. So I've actually used the Highland Heather. Obviously Purple Posy isn't an ink that's available to us at the moment. Well, it won't be available to us. Stampin' had some problems with the composition of the ink, and so rather than have people disappointed, they decided to pull the colour. Now the great thing is, what this means is actually Highland Heather stamped off works really well, and so all I'm doing is I'm just using this just to kind of give an impression of colouring. So you could colour with your watercolour pencils or your Stampin' Blends if you wanted to. I might as well, while I'm stamping these, do all 4 of them. But as you can see, you know, this makes it really quick to do. So there's our 4 perfume bottles. I've already die cut one of these shapes. So again, you could hand cut the bottles if you wanted, and whatever punch you've got, that would work as well. And I'm just lining that up. And again, you could ink around the edges if you wanted to. Let's try that. Just to, again, one of the techniques I use if I just want a hint of colour is I just put the edges there. On a shape, you can do either side, like so. And then all you need to do is just take a little bit of sponge and pop it around the top edge. That just gives you a little bit more of an effect. So now we can go ahead and start gluing our images. Now, this is where you need to have a little bit of patience and don't be too free with the glue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up this card, our little panel, with the front of our card, like so. Take one of the bottles and we're going to put it at an angle here, so it doesn't matter which way, but basically just do the 2 diagonals. And I'm just putting enough glue on just to catch to start off with, because we're going to stick another one on behind which will hold it in place. So, she says, there you go. These things always go so much easier when you're not videoing. So just add the bottle in place. Do the same on the bottom edge. So we're going to put some glue on this corner. Okay. There we go. Just pop that like so. And then we can add our sentiment to that middle section. Now obviously you don't have to add one to the reverse if you want to, but it just gives it that bit more stability. And if I'm as I'm doing it just for speed, I'm just going to cover the back of that with glue, and Jen just line it up with our outline image. And there we have a really pretty feminine card ready for you to gift away. I know who this one's going to be for. And as I say, if you want to, you can just add a second panel on the back there if you wanted to cover that up, and you could add the same sentiment on it as you wanted, or something else. So there we have a pair of pretty suspension cards using the new Dress to Impress. And if you'd like to buy any of these products, pop along to my blog, flutterbyheidi.co.uk. You'll find the links there. I'll also work out the measurements in inches for those of you that work in inches as well. But it's a really pretty straightforward card that is made to look super pretty with these lovely new papers. Thank you for watching. Do come back and see me again soon, or pop along to my Stampin' Up shop. Take care. Bye now.